Did you ever wonder that maybe former President Joe Biden told the military before he left to remember their oath because he was telling them to not pull the trigger when King Mango told them to against civilians? Because given the fact that we cannot depend on the executive, our former executive literally failed us and threw us to the wolves when he pardoned his own family, and the legislature, so Congress, is stalled. There's a bunch of compromised individuals, and there's Democrats who are getting threats, so they're silent. And you have to think about it. These threats coming from individuals, they would have been taken care of. They were coming from everyday people. They have to be coming from high places. In that reality, these high places are places that cannot be protecting these politicians by the official government, right? Which means that hypothetically, these threats are coming from within the government or from outside the government, from people with very high power. In this reality, we cannot trust our executive. It is compromised. We cannot trust our Congress. It is compromised. And the ones who are there who actually want to do stuff cannot do it on their own, and that's fair. When it comes to the courts, that's compromised, but also the courts have kind of a passive role in government. So we have no branches, and then the military, in reality, a good amount of them actually voted for King Mango, contrary to their oath, which meant they fell asleep during their oath taking. So that doesn't give us any good news, right? In that reality, when other branches fall and when the military falls in regards to our confidence in it, it means that only we can collectively provide that outrage in order to pressure the actual branches to promote resolve, because if it was up to them, they wouldn't do anything. Los Angeles came through, took up all the freeway space without any fear of martial law. However, I have to admit, and I know this very well, I speak about it all the time, that resisting in a blue state, resisting in a blue area is not the same as resisting in a red area. And only you being in a red area can make a decision as to how you will resist. And I will not be that person who tells you that you have to do this, or you're not valid. No, all our resistance, no matter what it looks like, whether that's sharing this video, liking, commenting, it means something, and I need you to understand this. So we're going to go to some tangible ways that we can act, and this is going to be a second part from my first part that basically did a roll call of the 16 Democrats who voted to authorize Doge to have access to the Treasury system. It will be linked in this description. But in continuation to that, the next point is the vote on Vought. So simultaneously with all of this, the human embodiment of Project 2025 and elite strategists behind the failed OMB funding freeze plot, Russell Vought is moving forward towards a confirmation by the Senate to be the head of OMB this week. And it doesn't matter if they can achieve it without Democrats. Democrats should not be supporting him. And in fact, Democrats should be using every single political delay tactic in order to make sure that this is as painful for the Republicans to confirm him. All avenues that they know very well and that they could have done beforehand, but no, there was a lot of Democrats who wanted to support the other side. Maybe it's threats, maybe it's blackmail, I don't know. Well, saying Gael, why do I tell them when I call them up or contact them? Well, you tell them that they're cowards. You tell them that they're not going to get your votes if they vote for another cabinet member. Literally any vote that comes through from today on, that's it. No more. No longer will they be supported by anyone in their district, anyone in the state, anyone in the country. And I mean the reality that we will never vote them into any government position ever again if they vote to confirm King Mango cabinet choice. And even if they pass through, it doesn't matter. We just don't want any Democrats giving them numbers. So Indivisible gives us some things that we can do. The number one is to show up at your senator's office. Now, I know that this is unrealistic for plenty of people who cannot afford to literally just show up at their senator's office. My senator is in Sacramento. That is towards that way, so I'm not gonna do that. Rather, I'm gonna annoy the F out of them on the channels that I'm capable of, calling them, emailing them, contacting them online, especially just spamming their messages saying you're a coward and you shouldn't vote for a cabinet choice. Or I think the motto should be either grow a backbone or your government job ends. However, if you do live close to your Senate office, please do go annoy them. Please do go drop by. Even better if you drop by in bulk of people. And especially, I would say, if you have easy access to places where Doji is going to be at, when people are there protesting, when people are there boycotting so that they don't get access to that space, please join them. We used to do that a lot when I was in college and undergrad, when there was protesters in a building and they needed assistance, they needed numbers. We would just show up, and there's a lot of numbers. What are they going to do? It worked a lot. So if you're close to a space where people are saying, hey, we need people to come here so that we can defend against Doji, please go and do that if you're close enough. This one goes further than I do because I kind of compassionate and I'm worried about the safety of the callers. However, Indivisible says to call your Republican senators and demand they vote no on Russell Vought's confirmation. Now, I'll leave it up to you. I know there's plenty of people who have called their Republican senators and messaged them, even though I said I would suggest against that. So it's all up to you. I don't want to be that person who makes that choice, but this is a critical channel. However, at the same time, I don't like to force this because it's unrealistic as someone coming from a blue state with blue senators and blue representatives to tell you to do something that I don't do myself, particularly because I don't have them. However, under fascism, safety is questionable. So if you're feeling bold enough, do this. And it says it right here, what you should do. I personally believe the most critical thing we can do is to remove the executive. But hey, I think our focus has to be on this, especially to nix the norms. So make sure that Democrats for sure do not vote for any of his cabinet picks, any. However, I think the most critical is this. I think the Democratic Party and in general the Democratic perception is that we can just do harm reduction. But in reality, it's the fact that as long as we continue this illegitimate executive, according to the Jack Smith report, he will be capable of doing whatever he wants. Why? Because we literally allowed for him to replace the United States Constitution, Article 6 Supremacy Clause. We allowed for that, and Democrats not even objecting it. You know, former President Joe Biden allowing for the 3 letters to drop the charges of election interference. We really have a weak case when it comes to this. However, what is true is that we require removal. We require removal through any means necessary that is lawful. This means that we have to force these branches to actually do their job. Has Congress actually voted on whether or not he is legitimate? No, maybe they should do that. Because unless that occurs, then there's a gray spot where he's not actually POTUS because there's actually no action around Amendment 14, Section 3 that they've done. Just because they haven't actually voted on anything doesn't mean he qualifies. Now, obviously, I have no trust in an impeachment. I have no trust in a traditional congressional choice, right? We have to pressure non-traditional lawful reaction. How does this begin? 1, annoying our Congress members, calling them to tell them that they're cowards. 2, annoying our senators, annoying them to not confirm any of the King Mango's cabinet choices, or else they're going to lose our support for sure, forever. This isn't hey, you're gonna get it back if you behave. No, if they vote even for 1, that's it. You know, if they pass it without the Democratic votes, that's fine. But Democrats should not break on this. And if anything, they should utilize any political deterrent and delay tactic in order to make it as painful for them as possible. 3, you go to my Substack on my link. That's going to direct you directly to the ones who are responsible for the Treasury authorization. However, on my Substack, I do have a list for historical record purposes of the Doji staff, specifically the 6 incels who are creating hostile behavior against our federal agencies in order to remove sensitive information like your social security number. So we have to overwhelm their channels with whatever we can. If we know that they're somewhere, we go there and we protest. We go there and we boycott. Because like I said, the only reality where something can be done is when the people are tired of it. And if the people are tired of it, then that creates that constitutional crisis. And enough politicians have actually said that we are in a constitutional crisis, that it means that we're not overthrowing anything, we're restoring it. And that's the quick, most important parts, that we're not overthrowing anything, we're restoring the Constitution as it should be, as it is. And that means defending against all enemies, foreign and domestic.